Good morning, friends. Theosophy, this wisdom of the ages, surrounds us in nature and has been passed on to us forever. This true message for progressing toward universal brotherhood comes out from time to time during our obligatory pilgrimages on earth as we are now. The message keeps getting tainted by personalities, religions, governments, and so forth, for their own too often selfish images of brotherhood. In the 1800s, H.P. Blavatsky, a Russian immigrant and American, came to the United States and once again introduced Theosophy to the world. The movement she started became known as the modern Theosophical movement, a synthesis of science, religion, and philosophy, which points to our responsibility to develop ourselves to become masters of wisdom in service to humanity. Holding the line of the masters of wisdom, she became attacked by those who she served, those who would again lure us away from the message of the masters. HPB was tirelessly defended by William Q. Judge, who himself became the target of attacks. After he left the scene, fraudulently proclaimed successors of HPB got at the tainting business again. In an effort to redirect the movement back to its original lines, Robert Crosby established the United Lodge of Theosophists with a simple declaration of a few paragraphs that are included in the ULT program. It is the mission of this lodge and sister lodges throughout the world to stay with the message of the Masters that point to our birthright to immortality in the wake of those who would continue to taint that message in the oh so subtle ways that they have, that even the most educated continue to be duped. We gather here at Suite 230, 4865A Cordell Avenue in Bethesda, Maryland, every Sunday at 11 a.m. to discuss a particular topic. We also have study classes every first and third Sunday at 12:30 p.m., where we are now reading and discussing the ocean of Theosophy. You can get more information on our website at www.ultdc.org, or way better yet, by coming to our meetings, which are open to all. Each lodge being sustained by students to the degree they make commitments to themselves only. There are no admission charges, and the only tie that binds us is similarity of aim, purpose, and teaching. Our reading today is from the Voice of the Silent, starting on page 10. Let not thy heaven-born, merged in the sea of Maya, break from the universal parrot soul, but let the fiery power retire into the inmost chamber, the chamber of the heart, and the abode of the world's mother. Then from the heart that power shall rise into the sixth, the middle region, the place between thine eyes, when it becomes the breath of the one soul, the voice which filleth all, thy Master's voice. 'Tis only then thou canst become a walker of the sky, who treads the winds above the waves, whose step touches not the waters. Before thou settest foot upon the ladder's upper rung, the ladder of the mystic sounds, thou hast to hear the voice of thy inner God in 7 manners. The first is like the nightingale's sweet voice chanting a song of parting to its mate. The second comes as a sound of a silver cymbal of the Dhyanis, awakening the twinkling stars. The next is as the plaint melodious of the ocean sprite imprisoned in its shell. And this is followed by the chant of the Veena. The fifth like sound of bamboo flute shrills in thine ear. It changes next into a trumpet blast. The last vibrates like the dull rumbling of a thundercloud. The seventh swallows all the other sounds. They die and then are heard no more. When the six are slain and at the Master's feet are laid, then is the pupil merged into the one, becomes that one, and lives therein. Today's talk is on Tsong-Kha-Pa and the Theosophical movement. Next week's talk is on karma and punishment. And now for today's talk.
Good morning and welcome everyone. Today's talk is on Tsong-Kha-Pa, the avatar of Buddha, who came in the 14th century, and of course you're all aware that he is part of the Mahatmic impulse in the universe, and the third Dalai Lama of Tibet was an incarnation of Avalokiteshvara in the sense of self recognizing this self while in the body, and the Dalai Lama is the present one. When we talk about these very metaphysical subjects, by the way, this student does not intend to chronicle his life events. What needs to be first recognized, what kind of incarnation was it, why had it come, and what was its purpose. And for those to be understood, the terminology of sun, logos, and Buddha, as well as Avalokiteshvara, is that the way? Okay. Needs to be discussed. Now, Tsong-Kha-Pa, it is stated in the writings, is an avatar of Buddha. Buddha came about 600 BC. In this statement also there is cycles that we need to understand, and how those cycles overlap with the Theosophical movement, and how that movement came to be what it is today. Tsong-Kha-Pa then was born in Kokonor, Tibet. He came to a family where there were 2 other lamas prior to himself. The woman that gave birth to him brought him to the lamasery and devoted him to the wisdom teachings at a very young age. He used that body to its utmost best purpose, and we will see what impact he had. And if we look at the 14th century Europe, we see that it is very dark. It's murky, and the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Church had subserviently cut off free thinking in Europe. But Mahatmic impulses were given, and through Latin and Greek learning, Europe was being cultivated. Tsong-Kha-Pa, of course, looked at it from a cyclic viewpoint and understood that the time was ripe to give it an impulse in the right direction. So the unfolding of the wisdom religion starts with his effort. Of course, we will give a handout and show where the impulsion went. So he came to Tibet, and when he looked around, he saw that the good was overmatched with the bad, simply because of the opposites. So what he did at first was to throw out all of the Llamas that had combined the Bon religion into Buddha's teachings. There were about 40,000 of them, and he started the Gelugpa, or yellow cap division of the effort. They are the most pure of the Lamaic input in Tibet. So what he did was he purified the teachings of Buddha first. Why did he do that? He needed workers not just for the East, but also for the West. This was in preparation for that. He also purified the heads of the Llamas. The mystic grouping of them also took place under his guidance. And when he looked to Europe, he decided that he would start an impulse of wisdom for the West at the end of every century. So every 25 years of each century, there's an impulse put towards the West that brings out a fresh spiritual input into our being. When we look at Tibet, at first, it looks like a very backward country. I have a little map here. I thought I did. And it is enclosed. I'll pass this around and you can look at it. It is high plateau area, it is mountain tops, and it is backwards when we look at it from the Western viewpoint. But HPV has an article about Llamas and Druzes, and she had printed that in the Theosophical for 1881. And she gives us similarities between Druzes of Syria and Llamas of Tibet. And in that article, she tells us that Tibet has another name, Tibuta. It is a Chinese name, Ti meaning God, and Buddha, body, wisdom. And in that article, she tells us Druzes declared that around the plateau of the Pamirs was the true cradle of humanity. Which humanity would you think that was? Initiated humanity. So, And another map, I'm sorry, shows the Pamirs. So it's the plateau where all those Himalayan and Kunlun mountains meet. And she tells us in that article that the land of the gods, or initiates, had Tibet, Mongolia, Tartary, China, and India contribute their highest developed humanity to the initiation process. So Tibet then is a special place because it is land of the wisdom gods. And if you actually read and pay attention to what we are being told, in the article she introduced about the Apollonius of Tyana, where all of the travels of Apollonius were recorded, you remember that he eventually went to India, and in India he met the initiate, or their head, and in that article we are told where the initiates live in their own castle, which is not visible to the human eye, because Damis never saw it, but Apollonius did. So the gist of this article is that the initiates are still there. Their home has never changed, so they live in that area. And she also tells us in that article the Hebrew name for sanctuary is Teba. Or the ark of Moses or Noah. So the cradle of humanity then, initiated humanity, took place in the Pamirs, which is the Tibetan plateau. Now, what does it mean to have a son, or what does it mean to be the Logos? I'm going to wrap this off. Okay. In the upper realms of being, sun is an emanation. The sun. Without understanding these terms, we won't understand who Tsong-Kha-Pa is. Sun is emanation. So what is it? It is putting out something of yourself. But in these realms, there is no sensuality involved. What is involved? Dhyana, abstract thought, but not the kind that we're used to. And what else? Will. So the sons of will and yoga. So this is that emanation we're talking. Oh, it's not correct. Emanation. Okay. Logos, you can verify what is being said today. In the Secret Doctrine 1, these go to page 571, 541, and where is it? 471, 72. You can verify all this on those pages. In esotericism, HBB tells us there are two Avalokiteshvaras. Two of them. And then she corresponds them for us. She says the first is unmanifested. The first logos in the Secret Doctrine is unmanifested because it is too exalted and it can have nothing to do with the manifestation. But the second one, she says, is the manifested. So the first one, she says, puts its diamond heart out and brings about manifestation. So out of the darkness, then, we're getting a ray of light. And this stage stated here. But she also tells us in that article, in the Secret Doctrine, that Avalokiteshvara, the second logos, in other words, the manifested logi, has the collectivity of Dhyani Chohans. All their powers, all their wisdom is in that. So it comes from the first, but it is emanated through the second. And she tells us that the first logos is the supreme Buddha. Supreme Buddha. And the second, she says, emanates the terrestrial ones. But the terrestrial is superseded by what? The heavenly ones, and they're preceded by the celestial ones. It is a line, but nevertheless, it comes into materiality slowly. Even though there is no materiality really, but to the human mind, that is how it appears. So 5 Buddhas have come. 2 remain to come. The 6th belongs to the 6th race root, and the 7th to the 7th root. So the 5th one, I think that's how it is written, Amitabha, is the lineage of the Sakyamuni Buddha, which is the one who came 600 years prior to our historical era. And Tsong-Kha-Pa is an avatar of Sakyamuni, so he also comes from this lineage of Amitabha. These are the exalted Buddhas, the exalted 5. So then, in his life, he had inherited all of the qualities that Buddha exhibited in his life. What were they? Physical, mental, metaphysical, spiritual. All was with him. But what happened is he also realized it in his lifetime. Buddha means boundless age and boundless light. And boundless light. And in the Theosophical writings, I don't know what time it is. In the Theosophical writings, we're told that the 5,000-year cycle was initiated by whom? Krishna's death. And it took place, the 5,000 year took place between 1897 and 1898. That was the 5,000 year cycle. What does Krishna represent? Unlimited, unconditional love. It's very important to hold on to these ideas. And Buddha came for the 2,500 year cycle within that 5,000 year cycle. And what is he? Boundless light, boundless compassion. The reason this is very important to remember is the Aquarian age humanity is going to express those two in themselves. Aquarian age is going to express these two qualities in ourselves. That is why the Theosophical movement came into the world, to bring the Buddhi monastic element into the forefront and give it an impulse. So, this says here, and since Gautama remains as a Nirmanakaya, because he refused to go into nirvana, he's still around to influence humanity as little as he can, as karma permits. So what can we ask of Tsong-Kha-Pa? What is he? Well, the voice of the silence we just read says, Keshava, or a Skywalker, is explained as formed of the wind, as a cloud from which limbs have sprouted out. And the yogi beholds the things beyond the seas and the stars. He hears the language of the devas and comprehends it, and perceives what is passing in the mind of the ant. This is the yogi condition which is being described here. And we are told that Tsong-Kha-Pa is just such a yogi. He comes to be a walker of the sky. His body becomes as one formed of the wind. He beholds the things beyond the seas and stars. And this is a direct quote. We are told that his luminous form, under the shape of a fiery cloud that separates itself from the dancing beams of sunlight, holds converse at a large lamasery with great congregation of lamas numbering thousands, the voice descending from above like the whisper of the breeze through foliage. Anon, say the Tibetans, the beautiful appearance vanishes in the shadows of the sacred trees in the park of the lamasery. So, he is also a Nirmanakaya who has a state behind to assist humanity as much as karma permits. We have these great beings. What epitaph one should give them besides Buddha, this student does not know. And these Buddhas of ageless time are amongst us. So this impulsion that he initiated for the West can be traced, if we wish to do so. And this student put it together from the Theosophical articles, and those of you who wish to read it may do so. This student does not have time to go into those today. It is not our subject. Now, Tsong-Kha-Pa says here, in the concise meaning of the stages of the path, he taught that unconditioned devotion to the teacher is the basis of all moral strength and action. Of all actions, he says, the highest is that of speech. As this is so, it is from this viewpoint that the wise should follow Buddha. Depend, he says, with effort in thought and deed on the holy spiritual friend, the teacher of the path, who is the root of the harmony, independent origination, giving all excellence in this and future lives. Having seen this, he says, retain it, though it cost your life, and please your guide by acting as he instructs. In this path that we are all emulating to traverse, this condition is necessary for our progress. Somewhere along the line, we are going to have a guru. And now I'm going to read from this article about HPB. I think it's this one. She wrote this article called The Theosophical Mahatmas, and I'm going to quote from this. She says, during the 11 years of existence of the Theosophical Society, I have known out of the 72 regularly accepted chelas on probation and the hundreds of lay chelas, only 3 who have not hitherto failed, and 1 only who had a full success. No one forces anyone into chelaship. No promises are uttered. None expect the mutual pledge between master and would-be chela. And at the end she says, from the first I knew what I had to expect, for I was told that, which I have never ceased repeating to others. As soon as one steps on the path leading to the ashram of the blessed masters, the last and only custodians of primitive wisdom and truth, his karma, instead of having to be distributed throughout his long life, falls upon him in a block and crushes him with its whole weight. And this is the suggestion she makes to us. He who believes in what he professes and in his master will stand it and come out of the trial victorious. He who doubts, the coward who fears to receive his just dues and tries to avoid justing being done, fails. Nevertheless, she says, he will not escape karma just the same, but he will only lose that for which he has risked its untimely visits. Why is this so important to understand? And then she goes on to say, unswerving devotion to him who embodies the duty trace for me and belief in the wisdom collectively of that grand, mysterious, yet actual brotherhood of holy men is my only merit and the cause of my success in occult philosophy. And now repeating after the Paramaguru, my master's master, the words he had sent as a message to those who wanted to make the society a miracle club, perish rather the Theosophical Society and its hapless founders. So the Theosophical Society was not formed for psychic entertainment. It was formulated to do what? To bring out a complete system of thought, the philosophy of the masters that she gave out in Isis, the secret doctrine, and Mr. Judge showed us how to live it by exemplifying those principles in life. He gave us practical guidance how to go about doing it. Now, Tsong-Kha-Pa is the initiator of this movement from the east to the west. HPB came from Russia to America. From America, she went to India. And from India, she came back to England. Where are most of us imported from? Europe. So what did she actually do with these travels? A web, a magnetic web she weaved. What was the purpose? To enable us to tap into the magnetic atmosphere of the masters. They are the originators of this philosophy. No other has she ever claimed that this stuff came from. The masters are behind the Theosophical movement. The masters do not disappear. They withdraw from the world, but their magnetic effect or atmosphere is still around. What happens to students most of the time? This is very important for us as the students of the philosophy to understand. They develop their psychic side of their nature, but before they ever become completely initiated into the spiritual life, they fall. And this is seen in all of the movements, all through the historical era. Every one of the Theosophical movements failed because the students would not stay with the recommended course of activity. What's the recommended course of activity? Brotherhood is the first criteria, because Tsong-Kha-Pa came to the world. He incarnated in Tibet, that land of the gods, but his responsibility was for the whole humanity. What about HPB? She incarnated and went all over the world, so her responsibility is to the world also, and it is peaceful. What had we done up to that time? We sent armies everywhere. We're not peaceful people in the West. We are trading people and we're combative. But HPB corrected that imbalance for the first time, and she distributed this philosophy all through the world. Now, this is really a talk that should take one day every week for a month to make justice to the subject of Tsong-Kha-Pa alone, let alone Buddha and all of the implications of Avalokiteshvara and its Mahatmic influence in the world. Now, Tsong-Kha-Pa belongs to the Mahatmic influence. He's one of them. So don't please mistake that they are separate. There's only one brotherhood. Now, this is about HPB. And the sixth impulsion was the one that we're aware of. She came in the 1800s. She was born in 1831 and she departed in 1891. 60 years she worked. And she tells us that she had to brave the painful though sacred duty of openly naming the masters for the first time. But she also warned all those who came into the movement not to play with its phohatic fire. Where is it coming from? Avalokiteshvara is phohatic fire in its lower degrees as it descends into our universe. What's light? We were discussing it the other day. What is light composed of? Electricity. So phohatic fire is definitely there. In the upper realms, it can give life as well as take it. It is that precision oriented. Well, she stayed for the 60 years, and she put this magnetic link across the world so that we could tap the Mahatmic vibration globally. And when she departed her physical body, Mr. Judge continued that same selfless work she had exhibited in her life. Her aim was to elevate the race. Her method was to deal with the mind of the century as she found it, by trying to lead it on step by step to seek out and educate a few who, appreciating the majesty of the secret science and devoted to the great orphan humanity, could carry on her work with zeal and wisdom. This is what she came to do. She knew that the majority would not be able to go along with it, as it was demanded that it be pure, it be simple, and it be the master's message. He reminded his readers that while at the close of each century a spiritual movement is made in the world by the Mahatmas, they do not withdraw their current. Rather, the seeds sown are allowed to germinate. This was between what? He departed in 1896. Between 1896 and 1919, when RC brought it back to the original lines, the Theosophical movement oscillated. By whom and by what? Now, this student had given some article references to all of you to please go and read it for yourselves, because this is not a preaching session. We must absorb and learn for ourselves. We can be guided, but we cannot be told. The oscillation occurred because the prominent theosophists of the time were after leadership, power, position. They wanted to all become successors to HPB. There are no successors to HPB. None whatsoever. She left printed documents with her signature on it saying that there would be no successors. Why? She knew that she would be coming back. Now, the secret doctrine is full of esoteric information. This student does not claim to understand it, but I'm going to read to you just a little bit. As the sun simultaneously passed across the galactic equator and the sacred asterism Punarvarsu, the Aquarian age began its turn as the solar month in the great year. Now, what does that mean? It has significant meaning, because if we can read those stars, we know what the 1975 cycle would be, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier, what it would be. So, this article says, those who cling to form rather than looking to the spiritual sun find themselves torn asunder by the collapse of familiar patterns. Piscean age is gone. All of the forms left over are still circulating around, but eventually they will all disappear. This is the Aquarian age. So, if we are riddled with self-doubt and insecurity, not sufficiently resolute in vision to see the soft golden hues of a spiritual light among the flashing beams of Maya, we will fall prey, she says, to doomsayers, negators, cynics, and our life would exemplify one crisis after another. Robert Crosby founded the United Lodge of Theosophists in 1909 to continue the work, because we had fallen off of the path, now we're getting back on it, and preserve the foundation of the coming cycle. And Wadia carried the light of ULT around the world, so he became the torch carrying and starting all these ULTs so that the work could go back to its original lines. Now, this is the contrasting scene in the 1975s. We're talking about the guru coming for the 1975 cycle. Now, this student had read to you before from here, but in all of the articles of the Theosophical movement in the literature, the same statement in different connotations are made, and I shall read it. I'm sorry, and this talk I cannot just cut it off. It says here, HPB clearly pointed out in her key, in her conclusion, that the plan is to keep the TS alive as an active, free, unsectarian body during all the time of waiting for the next great messenger, who will be herself beyond question. So the Magus teacher of 1975 cycle then is again HPB. She came to finish her work. Her work involves the sutratmic synthesis of the 7th century plan. Her duty is nothing less than to the whole of humanity. And as the voice of Vajradhara, the diamond soul, every word spoken is a full account. The teaching will be pure Theosophia, and the expression of it will be fresh and vivifying. Is it openly in the world, is what we need to ask then. In this cycle, we are expected to exhibit what was earlier said. Oceanic compassion and pure love. The synthesis of the royal art and the science of living, of unconditional love and unerring compassion, sets the archetype for the Aquarian men. Tsong-Kha-Pa initiated it. HPB came for the synthesis of the 7th century impulsion in 1975. Everyone must find the proof for themselves, because this is not openly given, because it has a purpose. The new teacher, it says, will lay down the invisible lines with parameters of human development for the next 2,000 years, because we have just entered the Aquarian age and 2,000 years is its duration. We have the privilege of being among those who enter a new cycle under this 7th century plan of Tsong-Kha-Pa. The golden impulse initiated by Krishna, Buddha, and Sankara in the East, and Pythagoras, Plato, Christ in the West, will be carried forth into the civilization of the future. Those who strive to make theosophy by any name, theosophy is not a name, it's a complete system of thought, a living power in their lives. If we don't assimilate it, if we don't learn it, if we don't make it our own and then promulgate it so that others can be directed in the same way, then we're not doing our work. But this is what is expected of us, to assimilate the teaching, but to let it work through us and make it a living power in us. Those who strive to make theosophy by any name a living power in their lives, one-pointed in consciousness. We're talking about Patanjali's yoga aphorisms. This is the Buddhic power controlling the higher mind then controlling the lower mind. Then the mind becomes one-pointed in its effort. It does not fluctuate all over the place. This is what it is getting at. Calm and deliberate in action. If we know what we are doing, then we calmly follow the guru's indication as to how we are going to progress. May have the sacred privilege of recognizing and serving the Malgus teacher of the 7th impulsion. Those who prepare themselves in the secret sanctuary of their hearts by letting go all of conditions and renouncing all wish for gain, money, power, position, goods, may have the privilege of working with the Guru for the regeneration of humanity. I will cut it here now that I can. Thank you. Questions, comments? I hope that this word, successor, is totally understood in its meaning, that there are no successors to HPB, because she was such a great bodhisattva. This is not my word. You have to figure out where those statements are made also. She's referred to as a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is a nirmanakaya. A bodhisattva is selfless. How could she possibly have any successors when the successors have not achieved this degree of development yet? So this is a misnomer. Everywhere in the Theosophical literature it is written, there are no successors to HPB, there are no authority for Theosophy. No authority. That at best, she says, we're all students and teachers. So each one of us then must understand it internally, align ourselves to serve, and be able to serve. That's the criteria for the 1975 cycle. This is being 2013. That movement is still in and around us, and we can channel our own energy to fit into that current.
Question.
Yes.
So, as you read that she would be returning, that's from her words, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then, from that time of her departure to the time of her expected return, some kind of way it appears to this student that something occurred which brought about some sort of difference there in thinking, in that you have those who think that she did not return, and the other side of that coin. I mean, if it's like, if these people, these adepts and all, can see into the future and ages ahead of time, then they know what's going to occur. So this confusion that arose as a result of her coming back or her not coming back, how did that occur within such high elevated status of beings? You know,
Exactly.
how did that occur or begin to occur?
Okay.
I can see it on lower levels, but
No.
on those levels.
She had actually assumed the responsibility for the European section right before she passed for a couple of years, and gave the responsibility for the American section to judge, because she knew what was going on, and she was trying to save the TS from the prominent Theosophists of her time, because she knew that they were ambitious people. That's the key, ambition. And she says that if we haven't gotten rid of that out of our system, we will fall. Why did they fall, Dupree? She says that without our will, the masters cannot make any change whatsoever in the world. The will, our will, has to be channeled in that direction. But the other thing is, what else is there? When masters make one step towards us, what does that enable the other side to do? They also step one step towards us. And what's the other side? She warned, she says in the messages she sent to Americans, that your strength is in unity. That if you do not stand together to defend Theosophy as if it was your own life, one by one you will all be broken. She knew what she was talking about. Who is she referring to? The black side. They do exist, they just don't talk about it. There is two forces in the universe. One force is the white, moving humanity towards its enlightenment and higher realms of effective renunciation and work, and eventually emancipation of the soul from matter. This is our inheritance. But the other side, who is in conflict with that, she says, would rather see all of our psychic powers bloom and ruin us. What happened to the Atlanteans? They sank. She says all of the Atlanteans are back again, causing mischief in the universe. So if they are pushed in that direction, the mischief would be costly for us, for the universe. So she says, wherever there's a hole in you, the other side sees it too, as well as the masters. The masters help you fill it in, but the other side does augment that in you. If you're vain, you become more so. If you're after power, they push you to be more in that direction. The white side help us eliminate our defects, but not so the other side. Whom did they get to? I mean, the theosophical literature is full of this stuff. Whom did they get to? Sinet fell. Hume fell. Who else? Mabel Collins fell. Wilson fell. Each one of the theosophical prominents, one by one, were broken. Who else fell? Besant fell. The Brahmanical influence was so strong in India, they did not want their little sphere of control taken away from them. She calls them the Jesuits of India. These are not my words. I'm simply repeating it, what I read in the article. But every one of you really need to learn it for yourselves, because when someone else says it, it becomes like preaching. But you can read it and understand it. The reason why they say it is that this cycle is exactly under the same danger as the other cycle, that the honest students can one by one be broken again, that RC brought us back, but we need to understand what the path is, what it means to be simple, pure, and ethical and moral, and stay with the philosophy of the masters rather than having a pulpit to preach our own style of theosophy. We're warned. She says, don't make popery out of it. Do not preach to people. We have to guide, but we cannot preach to others. So ambition has to become what? Compassion. These are not words, these are conditions that all of these things are in us too, in some degree, even though we are trying to control it. We haven't totally left them somewhere. It's in us as well. If it is in them, it's also in us. It's just that they allowed this to flourish in them instead of suppressing and controlling it. She says, psychic powers, when controlled by the spiritual powers, it's an aid to humanity. But the other way around, the psychic powers controlling the spiritual powers, then we are doomed like the Atlanteans again. Well, this is the middle cycle moving up towards the spirituality. There is urgency in their message because it's important. We need to understand that we're now moving towards the spirituality, and all of the effort need to be united and together. All our effort has to be united. Why? The master's impulse cannot help us if we are not united. The magnetic impulse is there, but we have to tap it as a unit, not one at a time. They can help us that way. So it's important to understand what she wrote. She wrote these for us. She says that this was in one of the Theosophical movement articles, that judge is my only representative. And she says, whoever says that I said it, I am saying that I haven't said it before I pass from this earth, and here's my signature above my statement. So she says, if people come forward that I said it, that they are my messenger, no, they are not. If they come across as authority, no, they are not. She said it before she departed because she knew what we would do with it. So it was a failure from that respect, by the way, until RC put it back on the original lines. It was a failure. It fractured.
It seems that we are running through this cycle, if you will, because it was Theosophy was coming of age while HPB was here, the wisdom religion. And then all of this took place even before her departure started to take place.
Yep.
But then you think about it, well, and the ULT seems smaller all the time, and shambles and stuff like that. The only true, according to this student's understanding of the continuation of the message. But is this any different than it was in the year 100 when the Neoplatonists were here and they disappeared? This light seems to be appearing from time to time, and those who catch it, and continue on. But it's said that the earth is our hell. So, how does this relate to? Is it encouraging or discouraging? Let me ask my question.
There is no discouragement.
We have to take it by the horns and make it encouraging.
There is no discouragement, because human nature is human nature. We have to learn our lessons, right? So there is no discouragement. If discouragement was in the view, why would Tsong-Kha-Pa give this impulse to the West in the 14th century? He saw in the future the colonization of the United States, and what did one of the statements was that it was opening up for humanity. The land became democratic. Well, when you think of that, then there is no such thing as discouragement. What has happened to Tibet? It's very important to also know. Since 1950s, the Chinese government aggressively went into Tibet and took it. Dalai Lama, 14th Dalai Lama, lives in India. 30,000 of his people are with him in India. And if you read a little bit background information on his life, he says at the time he appealed to the United States and England, and both of those countries refused to help him. We are those countries. We are the people. He still comes to the United States because there is a tremendous effort to join the East and the West together, because eventually we're going to be one humanity, one tongue, one religion. Sanskrit is going to be our language. We're going to all follow the wisdom religion. All of those who are ready to move on in this direction are the only ones that are going to be able to what? Live side by side with the incoming or upcoming 6 sub-rays for a very long time, if we are fit to continue. And she says that the forerunners of that is already here. Now think about who the forerunners of that race will be or is. And I read this statement, and I said it before, but I couldn't find it to send you to it. She says that the anomaly or the monstrous, some very unusual word she uses in describing them, that is going to be amongst us, eventually is going to supersede the 5th, and that is going to be norm, and if we are fit to continue on with them, we shall do so. But I can't remember the word. I said it last time. It's an anomaly at first because it's not regular, because we're the regulars. But she says the anomaly will eventually take over and become the majority rule. So,
like mutants almost.
Not mutants, but they're a different type. A different type. So she had. When I find that, I'm going to refer all of you to it, but I haven't been able to get to it. So, if we know all this, and Tsong-Kha-Pa knew it too, that the 6th sub-race is going to take place here in the Americas. Some parts will sink, other parts will come up in the what ocean? Not
Pacific.
Atlantic, the other one.
Pacific?
Pacific, thank you. In the Pacific Ocean, new lands are going to come. Some of the south is going to drop off, and those who are fit will continue.
But
yeah.
You know, your delivery seems to have a sense of urgency about it, in that getting back to even Jesus, they say that he was like, quote unquote, ambitious to come, but in him coming, there was this eclipse of his philosophy. And then in HPB said, like, if she had not come at that particular time, then the opposite side would have probably had more control or whatever influence. So now it seems like what you're saying now, that now at this time now
it's critical again.
It's critical. So what makes it so critical? Meaning that materiality. If what does not happen, what will occur? I guess specifically what I'm saying.
2025 is the nadir, and the other side knows it. At this point, we can be toppled.
When you say topple, you're talking about the
dark
psychic,
side, the dark
side.
side.
Okay.
Yeah, topple us all. Yeah.
What is the idea?
Lowest point of their influence in the universe. Mahatmic influence. This is not mine. Don't ask me why. I just read it. I'm simply giving it. You can read it all for yourselves, and we can put our minds together and figure it out. But they come out in 1975. The impulse came again. The Magus teacher is here. Okay, it's HPB. Anyway, this student doesn't have to say it. You can figure it. I just read it. To whom is she visible?
Yeah.
When those who strive to make theosophy by any name a living power in yourself, one-pointed in consciousness, calm and deliberate in action, may have the sacred privilege of recognizing and serving the Magus teacher. It's up to you to recognize it, because she is not in the world. She's on the spiritual side of things, and she works with the initiates. So if you wish to move in that direction, it's up to you. There is no condition put on anyone. You are self-chosen. And if people understand what self-chosen is, then they would not have fallen to this successorship garbage. Suppose somebody comes and tells us, well, I'm successor to HPB today. Now, are we going to go believe them? Well, where's my common sense? I have been taught this philosophy for 25 years. Well, where was I in the 25 years? Have I learned anything? This is what is being tested. We're being tested. All of the Theosophical students get tested. Are you either with the masters or are you not? There's no two ways. Either HPB was their representative in the universe, and this impulse came from the masters, or she is not. 1 year she is, the next year she's not, It cannot work that way. It's either one or the other. And the choice is being made daily amongst all of us. We're either with her and the masters, or we are not. There's no two ways about it. And they know. They know. So we are all self-chosen, and the condition is that you prepare yourself to know the teacher. And if you know, who is going to tell you otherwise? Isn't that correct? If you internally perceive it, is someone going to come and take that away from you? No. That is conviction based on knowledge. What else is it? Devotion to the higher self. Devotion to the masters. Devotion to the teacher. We just read what Tsong-Kha-Pa said about the guru. That is the highest privilege in the universe, is to have a guru who guides your every step externally, but internally you guide yourself, because your higher self is the same light.
But do we not have a guru now? Our responsibility is to go within and recognize that, right?
We just said it's an internal process, and those who know. By the way, don't ask anybody if they know, because if they do, they can't say. If they don't, those are the only ones who say they're successors. Because if you are in that brotherhood, you would never ever utter it. Why? Immediately you would not be in it anymore. That's the first rule. Secrecy. None of them who are in it can tell you. None. So, and what would that would do to us? If somebody is in it, it means they have worked for it, right? They prepare themselves, and they're full of this light, and current is with them, and they're moving to disseminate this stuff. So we can become like them. The teacher says it's up to us.
So we can all be Luke Skywalker. So.
Yes, let's just finish it with that, and I will sit. Where is my little book? Was up here. This stuff sounds like it comes from a different world. Well, it is from a different world. It's from the spiritual world. It is only then thou canst become a walker of the sky, who treads the winds above the waves, whose step touches not the waters. And Tsong-Kha-Pa is such a light in the universe, as is the Buddha and all those who came before them and all those who come after them. Thank you.